welcome back to Chiefs fans before we were cool. Uh, this is our second covering of the AFC Championship game, but it's the seventh consecutive championship game for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So they're a few years ahead of us.
Ooh, yeah, I mean he's been good for quite some time. Enough time to get a lot of haters.
Hmm.
So it's all right. We're the new Patriots. I feel like is the is kind of the sentiment, which is fine. I get it. I think we have the benefit of being the second dynasty, pretty recent dynasty. So we remember that. Like I remember being like anybody but the Patriots. Come on, people. And like even that Falcons game, I'm like, are you kidding me? These
Hmm.
Falcons, like 28-3, and then somehow find a way to lose. And you're just like, why again? Or even Seattle, where they threw it. Um, just unbelievable. Some of those things, balls bounce their ways, and I think it's how any dynasty is. Sometimes the balls bounce your way. So we'll see if
Yeah.
it'll bounce our way for these Chiefs Bills game.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like Emperor Palpatine when people complain about the Chiefs online. I'm just like, do it. Let your hate fuel you.
But yeah, let's talk about the Texan game. It was a good one. Um,
Yeah.
Not too stressful.
Not too stressful. Defense played real solid.
Mhm. Bend or
Um,
not break.
Better not break at special teams. It was a dominant special teams performance from the very first uh, play of the game. Uh, and the offense did what they needed to do to get going, to get enough done. Kelsey was in postseason mode again, right? So, um, honestly,
I thought he was washed.
yeah, I thought, yeah. So it's just literally, it's like they're just like, we'll just not, we don't want Kelsey to go too hard before the postseason. Um,
Yeah.
and it's, you know, it's almost criminal how open he was sometimes. You think like, I don't know how I don't know how he does it. Um, but it seems like that should be your first step with trying not to lose to the Chiefs is know where Travis Kelsey is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think they were just going to more. Plus, it was working pretty well.
yeah,
It's pro season, so they're more apt to use him. And it was a pretty solid game. Uh, First game postseason history where a team was outgained the other team. The Texans outgained the Chiefs by more than 100 yards. Did not commit a turnover and still lost. So
yeah,
that's kind of crazy that just the way the teams, again, I think it's more connected to the bend not break. The Chiefs had more successful drives. The
yeah.
Texans had some field goal issues, special teams issues, a blocked punt, and then a missed field goal. So,
Would
and a missed
and
extra point.
you know, it's the over 100 yards thing is that's a big one, but I did see interesting that the Lions did have more yards than the Commanders. The
Yeah,
Ravens did have more yards than the Bills. But
yeah,
part of the thing is that people aren't really paying attention to is like, okay, no turnovers, but they did have turnover on downs. There was good
yeah,
special team positioning, so that makes up for some of those yards. You don't
yep.
have to get 100 yards to score a touchdown if you get 67 yards on a kickoff return. Um,
Right. It comes down to how well you play in the red zone too, and we just did better in the red zone. So,
yeah. And I just honestly, I felt like some of the how the game was called was very irresponsible from the commentators because I think if you heard the game, they were basically like, the Texans are winning every aspect of this game except for special teams. But it's like, how many teams actually win a game where they get the quarterback sacked 8 times? Like, I'm sure that's a
yeah,
pretty low win rate.
Joe
Um,
Joe Burrow, a few years ago when they went to the Super Bowl, he
yeah,
was getting sacked all the time, and they were still
mhm,
winning. But yeah, in general,
in general.
it's it's not
And
it's not pretty rare. So we are definitely playing bend but not break, and we were getting pressure with a Menahu. it seems
Yeah.
like our defensive front's been good. Obviously, Specknall is also pulling some good pressure, so that's
Yep.
really good to see.
Yeah. It was good to see. And honestly, the other thing I was not happy with the commentators about was their commentating on those two roughing the passer plays. And I saw a lot of people this week being fed up, like, oh, Mahomes is doing the LeBron James school of acting and he flops. And it's true, he does some of those times, but you know who else flops a lot and very dramatically is Josh Allen. Uh, he's kind of known for that too, but people don't really think about that. And the other thing is, the more I've looked at those two plays, the more I think they were not bad calls because I think what I have seen is they can take back the flag for roughing the passer, but only if no contact with the head is made. And in
Yep.
both those ones, now that second one where the players made more contact with each other, yeah, they hit each other harder, but that second guy came in and was diving at a quarterback that was already sliding. You could make some sort of argument about, well, he slid late, but they couldn't take back the flag because there was contact made with the helmet, and you can't hit them in
Right.
the
And it
helmet.
kind of looked like there was contact. Like from depending on your position, it definitely looked like there was contact in a way that would be a foul.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think in real time, those look really different, and you throw the flag, and then you look back, and they can't change it because in both instances, the player made contact with his head. Like the first one where he hit his helmet, the defender's helmet hit Mahomes on the face mask. That's a penalty. You may not like it. I saw Tom Brady say this week, and this is probably the most rational argument that there are just too many rules for that make it hard for defenders. I could agree with that, but by how the rules are written, both of those are penalties. The second one might not have been very egregious, but in real time it looks different and you throw the flag and then you can't unthrow it because contact is made to the helmet. So,
Yep.
I'm pretty tired of people complaining about it, but people complain about everything. Oh,
Yep.
this is one thing I wanted to be sure to shout out though. It occurred to me this week how ironic it was seeing Texans fans accuse the Chiefs of cheating because I'm thinking about, wasn't
Yeah.
there a Houston baseball team that was actually caught cheating recently?
Yeah. With
Like, yeah, the Astros. So
big
it's,
trash
yeah,
cans. Yeah.
it's like, seems a little suspect for you to be accusing someone else of cheating.
Yeah. I mean, people were the new, like I said, we're the new
Yeah.
Patriots. There was, I agree with you. I mean, I think I would go so far with the second call to say it should have been called or, like I don't like that one, obviously. And I mean, I think with replay, I think most people would say it wasn't the best call. But again, I wasn't in their position and you can't take it up if there's any sort of contact. So um the first one, I think the commentators were kind of being irresponsible, as you said, with look, there was some contact high and like that's gonna get called most of the time. So stop making a big deal out of it. It's just because it's the Chiefs. And even though, yeah, I mean, like it's just not the Chiefs haven't really gotten the advantage in calls. Now, one thing I saw today was that Chiefs have not got as many fouls or flags in the postseason. Maybe that's some based on coaching. Maybe that's just too small of a sample size. So, and I think it's also that in the postseason they start calling stuff a little bit looser,
Hmm.
like holdings and some of these other things. So, or sorry, they're a little bit tighter sometimes with some
Yeah.
of those. They allow people to be a little bit more physical in the postseason, but generally, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell. And
One,
again, I don't think it's rigged because of just the way things are. I think it's a perceiver bias thing. It's just
yeah.
people notice when it goes for the Chiefs because they don't want the Chiefs to win, and
Yeah.
I understand that. So, and in that case, I can kind of like at least relate to people feeling that way.
Yeah. It's, well, you know, I've realized explaining the reality to people who are not Chiefs fans is not really worth it because they just want to hate the Chiefs, right? Because you see things like actually Mahomes has had fewer roughing the passer calls in his favor than Josh Allen has on more attempts, on more passes, or things like Mahomes has actually had less interceptions turned over on fouls than Joe Burrow has. But it's just because those people cling on to whatever fact they want to because they hate the Chiefs. And honestly, it's annoying when people are like, oh, they're cheaters or whatever. But it's like it's kind of fun to be so good that the only thing people can do to justify their team not being as good is like accuse you of cheating. Like I kind of
Yeah,
understand what Patriots fans must have felt like for all those years, you know?
yeah, yeah. Well, I promise I'm gonna do one answer that I promised some of my newest subscribers, I guess, our newest subscribers, I would answer this question, which was um, why the Chiefs seem worse than they are, kind of thing. Like they don't score a lot of points and things like that. And so we've talked about this earlier on the podcast, but I'm going to talk about it again just in the terms of the Chiefs, the way that Chiefs are playing right now makes them have less drives. So then there's less points to be scored. But our drives are very successful per drive. Like per drive, we are being very successful. But it's just the safest way to play. Like if you think of the way the Lions play, oh, we're going to go for a fourth. We're going to do all these things. We're going to, keep things alive and play fast and loose and, go for the big passes pretty frequently, things like that. That's good, but then it creates more variance because you can get more turnovers, which happened, right? And they end up losing to the Commanders. Not necessarily why, but it's very possible that that contributed to their loss. Whereas the Chiefs, we're just like, look, we're gonna if we play conservatively, we're gonna win pretty much every time. So if we have to air it out, if that becomes the game script, we're gonna do that. But so far, everybody who's played the Chiefs has kind of been sucked into the Chiefs game because the Chiefs are pretty consistent pretty early. They played a certain brand of the slow few drives, just methodical way of playing, and it's really hard to beat that if Mahomes isn't getting committing turnovers, which that kind of play supports better. And if we're just good at moving the ball sound, kind of professionals, just methodical, then there's less time for the other people to play. They're not going to have as many shots to come back or anything like that. So that's kind of where we're at. And what I would say for the Texans game, we were outgained by 100 yards because we didn't need those yards
Mhm.
to win. We were up by so many points, and we were just going to play it until they put us into a position where we had to go um, be more aggressive.
Yeah. I mean, to that point, it's kind of like this. People are sucked into playing the same way because it's like if the Chiefs 15 play drive, take 10 minutes, score, and then you turn around and then you score in 3 plays, then your defense that's gassed has to go back out there and the Chiefs can just continue to play that game. And so it's like if you don't do longer sustained drives, what's happening is that your defense is going to be less and less energy to stop the Chiefs on their sustained drives. And so you're kind of forced to slow down or else you're just going to keep letting your defense get steamrolled, basically.
Yeah, and
Which is
I
what used to
actually
happen to
said
us.
this that whole legion of Zoom or Boom,
Hmm.
like all those years, like 2018, 2019, 2020, like that's what I was saying. Like I really thought our defense was fine. It just was getting put into positions where they had to get back on the field a lot because we were
Yeah.
scoring so quickly. And so it creates more variance, as I said before, and can lead to less consistent results. So you have huge shootouts with the Rams and different things like that happened early in Mahomes' career. And not just because of the way that teams will generally play, but even now, like they're not playing us with too high as much or anything like that. So we go for the longer pass a little bit more often. But I think even with single high and in some other kind of coverages, we're still just going to do the safe play, like just play our game until we're in a situation where we really need to make sure we're scoring um, and catch up. But if
Yep.
we don't need to catch up, then we're just gonna play our game. So
And then in a
anyway,
situation you really need to score in the playoffs, Travis Kelce finds a way. So,
that's right. Yeah, Travis Kelce's back, guys. So my brother wonders some things. Brother wonders, would you put Jaden Daniels as a top 10 quarterback?
Why don't you go ahead and go first on this one?
Oh, I mean, he's has to be top four remaining quarterback. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like, who cares about Joe Burrow when he's been on the couch? He didn't even get in the playoffs. So, like,
Yeah.
like, lots of other good quarterbacks, there. So I don't know. I think there's going to be something a little bit similar to there's going to be a sophomore regression. I think whenever you have a rookie that is this good, I think he'll still be good. My guess is it's going to be year three when he gets into a groove and starts being really excellent again. But I think after this year, I think there might be a sophomore regression just because how much once coaches, defensive coordinators get tape on a player, they're able to adjust. And I think Jay Daniels, as good as he is, there are aspects of the offense and the way he plays that I think an NFL defensive coordinator mind is going to be able to exploit and at least take away some of his favorite things. And so it'll just not be as good. Like he'll still be good. Like CJ Stroud was still good this year, and obviously they made the playoffs and they were somewhat competitive. If they hadn't lost their weapons, it might have been a closer game. But
Yeah.
um, like I think it's going to be something similar to that, where he's good, but he's not lights out good next year.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too, is like obviously you'd probably put him in top 10 of how he played this season,
100%.
but next season's a different story, and there probably will be a sophomore slump just because it's not because he won't necessarily do it. I'll say this too, like granted, he probably has a better O line and everything, but you think of like, Caleb Williams being drafted before him, for example. Like if you drafted anyone before him at quarterback, you probably feel a little bit like, you know, but I think he's got a promising career ahead of him, and it'll just depend. I mean, like there's a lot of franchises that have really good quarterbacks that fizzle out after a couple years if they don't know how to continue giving them protection. But, obviously, I think we said this last week. You're a Commanders fan. You making the playoffs and winning a game was huge. Upsetting the Lions, obviously, was, this is, I'm sure that they're thinking Super Bowl right now, but even if you go out and lose, even if you get murdered by the Eagles this week, it's been a successful season for you. So,
Yeah. Just so you know, you're a little quiet on the mic there.
hello,
Hello.
it's me.
You're so quiet. I don't know what's going there.
All right, I'll
Do
just
I
try to
need to go
talk louder.
to share a declar? Yeah. Um, yeah, no, I mean, obviously they're elated, probably to be where they're at. Nobody would expect them to make that kind of a jump. So Jay Daniels is pretty incredible. I think the other risk you have with a quarterback like Jay Daniels, he's pretty light frame and he's a running quarterback. So you might have some years like Lamar has had where he gets injured. Um, and that's not doesn't mean he's not a great quarterback. Doesn't mean he's not the quarterback you want. Obviously, I would take him over Caleb Williams in an instant just based on the first year's
Yeah.
stuff. Um, I think one of the funnier videos I saw was the Giants GM's son. Like there's some video of him like the Giants GM talking to his son and was like, who should I draft? If you're in my spot, who do I draft? And he was like, I traded for Jaden Daniels. Like, what do you have to lose? It's like go for Jaden Daniels, like just do it. And I think it was the Giants. I might be mixing it up, but yeah, that would have been crazy smart.
Yeah.
But works out pretty well for the Commanders. Who knows if the Commanders would have traded anyway? Oh,
Yeah.
it's good stuff. Um, so yeah, I mean top 10, I think it's pretty close to that. Like
Yeah.
he's at least above average, I would say. Like I would still view him above average for next year.
Yeah.
Um, but if you start going through the list, like obviously not Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. I still wouldn't do Jalen Hurts, just
Yeah.
longer
I'd
track
probably,
record.
I
Or
mean, he had a good season. I'd still put him above Bo Nix, because I think Bo Nix also, the Broncos defense is probably one of the best defenses in the league this year. And so he
Yeah.
obviously benefits from that a lot. But
Yeah, yeah, there'll be some good stuff. Which Kansas City receiver do you think will have the most yards in this game?
I think we're saying receivers, we're not talking about Kelsey, right? I think Worthy will have the most yards, but I think Hopkins will have the most receptions. And they might be fairly close on what that final yard mark ends up being. But that's what I kind of
Who
think.
has the most receptions?
I think Hopkins has the most
Hopkins.
receptions. Yeah,
Dude,
I don't know if
it's
that's what I
it's a
said the
it's a
first
really
time, but
hard one. Like you said, like are we taking out Kelsey? I think Kelsey against the Bills has generally been your top receiver.
hmm
And then it's kind of whoever's hot or whoever, ends up getting the hits. Worthy and Kelsey were the only ones that really did anything
yeah,
against the Texans. They had a real strong secondary. The Bills have a good defense. So we'll see. But I think this might be the first time where the Chiefs have to really unload and kind of get out of the way that they've been playing. Um,
yeah,
and so I hope we win. I could easily see this as, this is not, maybe I'm a doubter, but like I could see us dropping this pretty easily. Like I think they're pretty evenly matched teams. And as I
yeah,
mentioned kind of the beginning of the podcast, any dynasty had a lot of balls like bounce their way. And that's just like you just have to because the probability of winning, even if it's 75%, you still only have like a 50% chance of winning everything.
yeah.
So you're
Well,
still flipping a coin.
and like, even if, I'm nervous about this game. I'll talk about some reasons I think there's we can be hopeful in a second, but like, no team who's ever gone for three-peat has made it to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that we hit our, I mean, for the Chiefs, really, if a season's a success or not, obviously you want a Super Bowl win, but it's like making the AFC Championship game is kind of the measure of was it a good season or not, right? So we've made that. Um, this might be the time that Josh Allen beats us in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Um, but we will have gotten as close to a three-peat as anyone else has, even if we lose this game. Um, Now, when we played them in Buffalo earlier this year, Butker was out, Pacheco was out, Hollywood Brown was out, and Amenahu was out. So, like, I think there's also reasons to think that the game should be at least closer than it was
Oh yeah.
last time. So,
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we got blown out. I think it's gonna be a really good game. Um, they had Matt Milano back, who's a big deal for a linebacker. That's a big part of their defense that they traded for, and it's been kind of hard of their defense. So that's somebody for them that's kind of a big deal. But I think playoff football is totally different, and I think we got a shot. I think we're in a good spot. I think, like I said, I think
yeah,
I would if you made me give a percentage, maybe 75. I don't know.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I still have a pretty high expectation. It's just one of those games where like Texans beat us, I would be like, what? Like if the Bills beat us, I'm like, I guess it was their year, and that's
yeah.
okay. It's okay
When,
for other teams to have their years occasionally. I do want the three-peat. I
yeah,
think that'd be great. But I think sometimes stuff like that is kind of overrated. Like it's like, oh, now you're a real dynasty. That doesn't make any sense. Like
yeah, yeah,
if we don't win this year and then we win next year, and then it's like, well, it's not a three-peat because you had a year between. Who cares?
yeah.
Like, whatever.
So I saw maybe the worst NFL analytics article I've ever seen this like in the last week or two because
Oh
it
man,
was
that's pretty
announced.
bad.
It was announced, and I guess the Jets have already hired someone, but the Spagnuolo did a interview for a head coaching job for the Jets. And this
Okay.
article is basically like the Chiefs are trying so hard to push for a three-peat that they're endangering their ability to get four consecutive championships. Because like they're going to lose Spagnuolo and other things, but I'm just like, wait, but if you don't win this one, then you can't get four anyway. So you can't be like, oh no, they tried so hard to get three that now they're not going to get four. Oh no. It's like, that's not how math works. Like, oh man.
That's
Um,
incredible.
Yeah, I think another thing that's important is I've kind of decided it's no longer wise to bet houses. I'm not going to do that on this
Oh, you
podcast.
haven't heard the last question though.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
The last question is, would you take the over or under on the 47 total points in the Chiefs Bills game?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm not sure, honestly. I can see it being either way, where this might actually be the game that becomes the Chiefs shootout for the year, or it's a
I'm
really
totally
good
over.
defensive game.
Meh.
So, but
Over,
I
over,
would say
over,
this.
over.
I generally, we might lose this game.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if I've learned one thing from Patrick Mahomes, it's this. It is not a good financial move to bet against Mahomes with any consistency at all. So I would not recommend doing that ever. Um, and
Yeah.
I won't try to bet Chris's house anymore. Um,
No,
so
it's not very nice.
yeah.
Now that you have your house, are you just afraid of retribution? Is that what this is about?
No, 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 no. I just changed my heart. It's not because I'm a homeowner now. It's just a change of heart. Nothing to do with that.
Yeah, you better be careful. Chris might start betting your house, or I might start. I don't know. I'll bet both y'all's houses. I'll bet the over on one and the under on the other, just so no
Like
matter
you're like,
what, you
I'm
both
guaranteed a
lose.
house.
We're guaranteed loss.
Oh man.
No, yeah, no, yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time to be a Chiefs fan, and it's exciting times. I wouldn't view this season as a failure if we lose.
Yeah.
I think we're competitive. We're up to the AFC Championship. We had, we the one seed in the AFC. We played a good game. We played
Yeah.
around, but all runs come to an end at some point. So we'll see how it is. Which NFC team would you most be want to face, or I'll say which one do you most want to face, and then which one do you most fear?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and I
think is
don't
the better
know,
team.
to be honest, if I fear, I mean, it's very possible the Chiefs win this week and don't win the Super Bowl, right? That could
Yeah.
happen.
hmm
I think the Bills are scarier than any of the two teams on the NFC personally. I think the matchup America wants the least is Chiefs, Chiefs,
Chiefs
Eagles.
Eagles.
Because like not again, you know.
Yeah.
I'll say there's probably more unknown with the Commanders. In mine. Now that being said, I also think, Daniels has been playing really well, but I also think the Eagles have really big game experience, which the Commanders don't have. And I don't think you can, I think that's something the Chiefs have shown is experience matters in that instance. So, in a sense to say, I think the known enemy is the Eagles. In a sense, that would be a little bit easier to kind of game plan for maybe, but at the same time, um, do you go with a little bit more unknown of the Commanders, but also like less experience? I don't know. What do you think?
I think I would most want to face the Commanders just because it's kind of a cool story. But I think I would most fear the Eagles. I think pretty similar to what you're saying in the sense of like they've just been to the Super Bowl more recently. The Cinderella teams tend to have a, they tend to not win it all,
Hmm.
right? When you have a run like that from a lower seed, they tend to just end up being an easy win for some higher seed eventually. The Lions, they were so beat up on defense that I think it was just I think that was kind of hard. And then obviously their quarterback Jared Goff is not elite, like he's not a top 10 quarterback probably.
Hmm.
So um, that that's going to hold you back.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The Eagles have looked kind of rough in some things they played. It seems like Jane Daniels a little beat up with his knee or something. Or sorry, Jalen Hurts. So we'll see which one it is. I don't know. I think it'd be really fun to face the Commanders, but we have to beat the Bills first. So we'll see kind of
Yeah.
what happens here.
Do you
Um,
think the NFL, if Jalen is ever on the injury, if he's ever on the like, injury list for the game, they should not say like injured, they should just say Jalen Hurts.
ouch.
It's,
That was painful.
yeah. My dad likes him because he's the only quarterback whose name is also a sentence.
Yeah, no, it's pretty great. Yeah. We'll see with Josh Allen. And I mean they looked really good against the Ravens. They
Yeah.
won that game. Big deal. They're coming to two Arrowhead, so we have home field advantage. I think that
Yep.
matters when you have two
Think
really
it
good teams.
matters. I think if we continue to not turn over the ball, I think that was a
Yeah.
big part in them beating the Ravens was
Yeah.
a bunch of turnovers. So
Yeah. If we don't commit any turnovers, I think in general, or the turnover is neutral, turnovers are
yeah,
neutral, then I think we probably win just based on what we've done all year, right? We've just made more points per drives than the other teams and capitalized on their mistakes and didn't make a whole lot of our own mistakes. And that's how the Chiefs win right now.
right.
And it's not as fun as Tyreek Hill in those days. And I miss them and I've complained about them a lot. And I've just shouted over on the spread because I wishful thinking. But the Chiefs are pretty fun to watch. They're just so good. Like it's you're seeing greatness and
Yeah.
you're seeing an epic team. And so as much as we want variety, sometimes there's like a cool value of seeing Mahomes doing Mahomes things. Like we didn't even mention in this podcast the falling throw
Yeah.
to Travis Kelce because we're so numb to it. Like we went this entire podcast and did not even mention that epic throw, in part because of other narratives are taking over, like rusher rigging and all this other stuff.
Yeah, it was crazy how the ref held him up for that throw, you
I
know?
know, like seriously. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Obviously that those 15 yards again, like I said, I really only think the second one is roughing the passer was egregious. And again, like you said, they couldn't pick it up, and it seemed like more just an honest mistake from the situation than anything. But because you can't take it up if there's any sort of head contact. So
Yeah.
after they threw the flag, that's what it had to be. And like I said, if I
And
was there,
to
I
your
don't know what I would
point,
do in the moment. It's a hard
yeah,
thing not to know.
if Mahomes continues to do Mahomes things, we've always
Yeah.
got a shot.
And Kelsey's doing Kelsey
Yeah, Kels
things.
things. And if Karlaftis gets 3 sacks again, I really like our chances. Tell you what,
Oh my
like,
word, that was so cool to watch him.
yeah,
Yeah, he did some good stuff. And I think there was even a big play by uh FAU, Felix
yeah,
Duque, which was cool to see. Just his name show up in the defense. So between Menahu being back and Jalen Watson being back, another
yeah,
week
that's
removed,
huge for us.
less rest. So I think we're really healthy. I think we have all the pieces together to win. But again, whenever you play really good teams, the ball's got to bounce our way. Like I think back to 2018, where I think
Hmm.
we were better than the Patriots, but the Patriots beat us. And maybe some of that was because of experience. Some of that was because some our player lined up offsides for some reason. Um,
Yeah, for some reason.
like uh, you D forward, but some of that is just the ball bounced away. That's what happened in the game in a
Yeah,
very close game. They got the coin toss. Literally the flip of a coin seemed to be the decision in that game. And so anyway, we'll see how it goes. Let's go Chiefs. Let's lock
go
in.
Chiefs. Let's lock in. Let's get it
Let's go
done.
for this three-peat,
Two more
you
games.
know, and then, Taylor Swift can write a song dedicated to all our haters,
Yeah.
um, with her army of fans that she's brought in and,
Yep.
energized for the sake of the
Yep.
Chiefs kingdom.
Yep. And then all the Caitlin Clark fans are going to start coming too. So hoping can,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I
there's
mean,
room for all of you.
I just, it's like sometimes when you're having arguments with people and you're just like, I don't know why that person wants to be wrong so badly. It's like, I don't know why you want to be sad so often. Like, why would you make the Chiefs winning something that you're sad about or mad about? Because it just means you're gonna be mad or sad
Yeah.
a lot of Sundays
Yeah.
every year. Like, this is my plea to you, haters, that obviously all watch our podcast. Like, you're gonna have to let go. Like, you're gonna have to let go. Because if you don't let go, you're just more sadness. more rage thrown into the wind because I
Yep.
think Mahomes is gonna be thrown into the end zone this week, and we're gonna push our way into it. Third, go for the three-peat. The march to the three-peat continues.
It continues. Let's go get it done.
Let's get that.
See you next time.